Major moves. We going all in, like we got nothing to lose. We making moves. We making major moves. We making moves. We making major moves. We making moves.
Welcome back to my channel. I want to thank you guys for actively deciding to spend time with me. I'm just a guy in a Spider-Man mask, a cool one I might add. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just providing information and content already on the internet, and I just read it and present it to you guys in a way that may reach you or may not reach you. Whatever the reason is you found my page, I'm grateful you're here, and thank you for spending time with me. Let's get into this.
What is up, everybody? I am Mr. Man, and I was so excited to get home today, to rush from work and get myself here, sit in this chair here so I can chat with you guys here. Hold on, sorry, let me just get my timer going, that way I know how long this is going for. Where is it? There it is there. Thank you guys for your patience. There we go. But yeah, today is just like ripe with news today. Holy heck. We have real estate just spiking up, just spiking up, interest rates spiking up. I can foresee in a time frame very, very soon. You're gonna see it, even though it's going up now, it's gonna shoot up. We're gonna reach a state of hyperinflation. We got the Grayscale coming out now, winning their case for that Bitcoin ETF. And after that, literally after that, we had the, I want to say, what looks to be the beginnings or possibly entrance into some kind of bull market, maybe. But after that, all the crypto began to rally. When I say all, I'm just being really facetious, but like a lot of crypto began to rally at that point. I saw XDC up 15% today. I saw, what else was there? XRP, XLM, Algo, Quant, they were all motoring today based off the news of this spot ETF here for Grayscale. But there's a couple things I want to show you guys here. It's been a minute since we last connected here, but this is Kevin Green. He is with the Tassat Group, and this is him speaking about the U.S. falling behind. They say falling behind in innovation. That could be in the intermediary or right now. But if the U.S. hypothetically was to take a back seat on innovation and let everybody else innovate, and they see what works and doesn't work, then they can come in, just boom, that works, utilize it within our ecosystem now and deploy it. They may or may not be falling behind. It's all perspective, really. But this is what he has to say. I'm just going to mute my mic here so you can hear this properly. Give me 1 minute here.
Lending, really the nuts and bolts of this country, what kind of impact will that have? And what will that mean? And I want to ask the rest of the panel in our closing minutes regarding our competitiveness, right? Us implementing it here in the United States versus overseas.
Enormous benefits, tremendous gains in efficiency, tremendous elimination of security risks. The flexibility, even the risk management component of it. The beauty of blockchain, unlike other technology, is you can program into it risk management components. You can program into it, when this event happens, do this. If a different event happens, do that. That's an incredibly powerful tool. You set it and you let it happen. The issue that we've all touched upon is really important. Talking about U.S. competitiveness, I can tell you the rest of the world is so far ahead of us.
Well, besides,
and we have to catch up.
So besides China, though, who are the three other countries that are ahead of us, you think?
I would say pretty much just about every part of Europe. I mean, it's been very public that I don't think there's any paper currency floating around Sweden ananymore.
Well,
Asia,
that's been the case for a while.
But Asia, all the Asian countries are adopting blockchain and other technologies. So this is actually why I've never owned a single penny of Bitcoin. I really don't care about it. But those currencies are not going to go away. And the U.S. can't be this kind of, like I hate to say, like North Korea trying to avoid the rest of the world. We've got a great banking system. It's worked very well for 150 years. We have a technological change that's sweeping the world, and we just have to figure out a way to participate in it. It's happening all over the place, like checkout.com,
Yeah.
things that Rob is doing. But it really is strategically very, very important. And I'll come back to a prior theme. JP Morgan has 250 blockchain developers. They spend billions of dollars a year. They built a whole platform. That's the second thing that can't happen, the regulators should be careful about, is that this cannot become the domain of 10 large banks, okay? We'll end up with an economy like Europe that doesn't grow, doesn't innovate,
Right.
doesn't add employment. And it's the reason I get kind of worked up about this is, it is a really important issue, and the technology is simply a very sophisticated database.
Right, so Sarah,
It can be adopted.
let me bring you in on this lending.
So, Kevin Green is not afraid, but I guess has apprehension that the U.S. could end up like Europe, where they have a limited amount of banks. And that seems to be what's happening in the U.S. right now. They're just cannibalizing all these banks, the J.P. Morgans, the BlackRocks, the bigger banks that exist. They're just cannibalizing the regional banks here. And that's what we've been seeing. Every time a bank falls, boom, take this one, I'll take that one, I'll hold all these assets as long as I can afford them and deploy those. So, you heard him say there, I wouldn't hold Bitcoin. That's his logic, that's his reasoning. Let us continue here. Oh man, today is gonna be a good one. This is gonna be a good one. Okay, here. Let me read this, guys. Let me read this to you guys here. This came out yesterday. Federal Reserve sets guidelines for banks' use of stablecoins. A new Federal Reserve supervisory letter on the process for state member banks using dollar tokens, such as stablecoins, to facilitate payments has drawn the ire Monday of members of Congress. Earlier this month, the Fed released guidelines for state member banks to first get a written supervisory non-objection from the Fed Reserve before issuing, holding, or transacting in dollar tokens, according to an agency press release. The requirement is aimed at ensuring that banks have appropriate risk management practices in place, including systems to identify and monitor potential risks such as cybersecurity threats and illicit finance. State member banks engaging in dollar token related activities will also be subject to ongoing supervisory review and heightened monitoring. This sounds to me a lot like the NYIC, the New York Innovation Center, stablecoin recommendations that they've been using for the past, I don't know how long now. The agency also created a novel activities supervision program to supervise novel activities conducted by banking organizations, including crypto assets, distributed ledger technology, and technology-driven partnerships with non-banks to deliver financial services. It aims to complement existing supervisory processes and strengthen the oversight of tech-driven activities. The goal of the Novel Activities Supervision Program is to foster the benefit of financial innovation while recognizing and appropriately addressing risks to ensure that safety and soundness of the banking system, the agency said in a release statement. The program will be integrated into the Fed Reserve's existing supervisory process, with program experts working alongside current supervisory teams to oversee banks engaged in novel activities. However, lawmakers on Monday criticized both actions, charging the Fed was undermining congressional efforts to put together stablecoin regulations. Very, very interesting. In a letter sent to Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell, Jerome the homie, as TED Talk Money says, U.S. Reps Patrick McHenry and Bill Hunzenga, I'm not sure how you pronounce that, criticized the Fed's move. McHenry is the chairman of the House Financial Services Committee. We are concerned that these actions are being taken to subvert progress made by Congress to establish a payment stablecoin regulatory regime. The letter said, do you want to see the letter? Let's just see where my mouse is and I can show you the letter. There we go. Here's the letter. So, we're writing to express concern regarding the Federal Reserve's recent supervision and regulatory letters titled Creation of Novel Activities Supervision Program and Supervisory Non-Objection Process for State Member Banks seeking to engage in certain activities involving dollar tokens, both of which were issued on August 8th this year, 2023. We are concerned that these actions are being taken to subvert progress made by Congress to establish a payment stablecoin regulatory regime. So Congress has their ideas of what they want to do, as Senator McHenry is stating there, and Senator Hill is written in this letter here. And then you have the Reserve, the Federal Reserve, trying to go around and be like, nope, we're going around this bush this way here, and we're not going to include you guys in our plans at all. So the story goes. So this letter says here from Congress, right? Okay, Congress understands the need to provide regulatory certainty for payment stablecoins and the broader digital asset ecosystem. A regulatory framework established by Congress will better protect consumers and provide certainty to market participants. This recognition was the impetus for the Clarity of Payment Stablecoin Act, a bill that was favorably reported by the House Committee on Financial Services on a bipartisan basis. Yet, instead of working with Congress to establish a working regime, less than 2 weeks later, after the committee's actions, the Fed released SR 23.7 and SR 23-8. We're going to leave that there, and we're going to jump back. We're going to fall back in line here. Just going over some of the things here I posted. But yeah, we're reaching a place with real estate now where the market, at least I'm going to talk to you about my market here in my little town here, northwestern Ontario, where houses are beginning to pop up on the market. And typically when a house pops up on the market here, because this is a government town and a sought after town, the market, the houses snatched up quickly like you wouldn't believe. As soon as it goes on, up for sale, it's gone. It's gone. It's off listed. It's not listed already. Like it's taken off. So to see houses popping up and staying there, I haven't tracked and trended this yet to find out how long these houses are staying on the market. But last time I had trended them, which was the beginning of last year, beginning of last year's summer, when I spoke to the mayor of this little town here. And I showed him that single-family houses were staying on the market on average 78.5 days. And I want to say mixed use or commercial real estate, so fourplexes plus, 4+, or multiplexes, were on the listings for an average of 12 days. And the average house price here in this small town was $375,000 for 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, which is a standard house. That's expensive. This is like southern Ontario prices here. Like you need to go down south to get these prices, but it's creeping up here. And now we're in a place or in a phase where we see the interest rates rising and these house prices were rising. People are going to get their asses handed to them. Pardon my language. They're going to, because as these locked in interest rates begin to unlock, or when they reach maturity, if you want to call it that. Maturity means you have an amortization period of 30 years with the bank or 25 years, depending on how you choose to structure your loan with the bank or with the entity you choose. Every 5 years, you have maturity of that loan. The bank will bring you into the location of that bank. You sit down with them, you reassess. They go and reevaluate you again to see how you're doing and if you're able to afford what you're living in. So now, with all these people that had locked their properties in or bought properties during 2022, when it was low, interest rates were low. Like they were like 0.99% at that point for a house that was being bid up over 100,000 over asking, 200,000 over asking. In some cases in Toronto, over a million over asking. Because why? People had the money. And what does the saying go for a lot of people who don't understand real estate? It's better to get in now than to never get in at all. That's stupid. Don't ever do that. Don't ever think like that. Never rush with money. There's always people out there who are willing to provide money for you as a real estate investor because they want the investment and the understanding that you know how to do. So don't rush into real estate. There's no rush, especially not now. But we're coming to the inflection point here where rates have risen too much or rising so much with the price of the real estate up here still, or should I say it's off. You can't even see my hand now. It's off the Richter scale here with the price of some of these houses. And now in the States, we're reaching an interesting period with insurance. Because in the States, and I believe it's in Canada too, I haven't looked, I'm not 100% sure. But to own a property or to own a house, that house has to be insured. And if your house is not insured, you've forfeited your mortgage because you didn't meet that requirement of the insurance. So I've heard stories of people whose houses were almost paid. I followed the Economic Ninja, and he was telling a story of this one family or couple that he knows where they had $9,000 remaining to pay. And the insurance company had pulled their insurance because their property was in proximity of the fires taking place. I can't describe what proximity is. That's why I specifically used that word. Proximity could mean 800 meters. Proximity could mean 5 kilometers. Proximity could mean 10 kilometers away. I'm not sure. But for whatever reason, the insurance pulled their policy, and now that family is losing their houses. And for a lot of other people who have maturity coming due soon, if not now, in 2025, in 2 years, who locked in 2021 when the housing market was being bid up, they're going to feel it soon. They're going to feel it. But just jumping back now, we're going back to what had happened today with the ETF for Bitcoin here. So this individual here is from Grayscale here. This is a 9-minute video. I just want to show you guys here. Just near the end is what I want to show you, not the entire thing. But it's really interesting what he has to say, and I highlighted this part. Let me take you guys there.
And some of the other ETFs, which have information sharing,
Fidelity or another
are
gains.
The BlackRock exuberance kind of faded, and people were waiting for a catalyst. The market has been incredibly boring. We saw what happened, what was it, a week and a half ago, where it looked like a momentum ignition, triggering of liquidation strategy happened that knocked Bitcoin from 29,000 down to 26. And it then, since then, is traded at 26 the same way it was trading at 29, i.e. large, patient buyers sitting in the market with lots of speculators moving in and out. The speculators had gone, pretty obviously towards more of short positioning. Well, those large patient buyers were waiting for this sort of thing, but will they start chasing? They'll only start chasing when they feel they have to. And that doesn't happen very quickly. So what you will probably see is a punctuated wall of worry rally, punctuated by varying times where people decide they want to try to run ahead. Bitcoin always goes up, it fades, and then continues. So I suspect to see this is the beginning of a bull market phase for Bitcoin that will be more sustainable. But obviously,
Did y'all catch that? When I said I highlighted it there, a bull market phase for Bitcoin. Right now, Bitcoin is still the leader of the cryptocurrency. So where Bitcoin goes, crypto goes. But with that being said, this bull run, as this individual here is talking about, let's just see. Because a few hours, not even like 20 minutes after this came out, I swear to you, 20 minutes after this came out, my man Jim Cramer, always on cue. All right. Powell is winning in so many places. Remember, Jim Cramer is a contra-indicator. Whatever he says, the opposite happens. Okay? In so many places, from homes, we just spoke about that, to job openings. There's no job openings. There's a ton of jobs closing, people losing their jobs, to starting salaries. That's one of the reasons this market can go higher so easily. In one regard, I do agree with him where he says the market can go higher, but there's always pride before a fall. What goes up must come down. Always, always, always. It gets to a point where it becomes unsustainable. And what's happening right now, not just in our market, but in our reality with seeing people out there, there's going to be some travesties taking place because in Canada, they had introduced what's called MAP, minor attractive person. Attracted or attractive person. And what MAP is essentially, for lack of better terms, it's pedophilia. And the government has allowed this to run rampant now. I'm sure you've seen that in the, and I'm not gonna point out a particular group or subset of people. However, in the I guess in the subset of of this group, the fringe individuals of the LGBTQ plus two, I'm not sure of the acronym, but there are individuals in there who have taken this and run with it, this MAP thing, or have taken the LGBTQ and converted it into their own thing. I'm neither for nor against this community. I have friends that are gay. I have my family that's trans. Like, live your life. Do you. But when you start infringing on people's lives because you have your feeling and you feel your feeling is right and you feel your feeling should be factual, that's not how this realm works. Your feeling might be factual for yourself, and I don't want to go deep into this stuff here, but recognize that there are certain elements of this, a lot of elements, all the elements of this whole MAP thing is not good. When you start introducing pedophilia in a legal way for individuals here, and now you have what they call them hormone blockers for individuals looking to transition, and in Canada, if you try to not prevent someone from transitioning, but talk to them about the adverse side effects that may exist, giving them both sides, not just the one. This is why it's good. You also need to know why it's bad. If you talk to them about why it's bad, you can end up in jail in Canada. I'm not sure for how long. I'm not sure how that court case would even go, but it's happened already. Precedence has been set by an individual, a father trying to get his son, I believe it was, and his wife had won this case, and he ended up in jail. So, that being said, Jim Cramer says the price can go higher, and then what goes up must come down. There'll be a huge fall. And this typically happens if you look at cycles, which I've been studying now. I am no expert by any means. I'm just telling you what I'm learning based off my research and from the people that I follow and interact with on a daily basis, that this fall will happen in the fall. And that'll be with real estate first, commercial mortgage-backed securities, CMBS. Because I'm sure I explained those before, but a commercial mortgage-backed security is the initial mortgage of a commercial real estate property, and you get a bunch of those, individual mortgages, and bundle them all up into an individual bond or security at that point. And now you can invest into this security, which has, hundreds of mortgages in them, and that's what a mortgage-backed security is. So when those begin to fall, you're gonna I guarantee you, by the end of the year, Q4, you will hear the bank earning call. Oh man, it's gonna be just a bloodshed, just a bloodbath. Okay, now with that being said, there's one last thing I want to show you, but this is literally a long video, but this video is, hold on, I'm lying. There's two videos I want to show you. There's one with Marcus Treacher. He was formerly from Ripple, and he's going to talk to you about Interledger. And then the other video I want to show you is a panel. One of them is, what's his name? Chris Skinner. And the other one is Marcus Treacher. And the other two, I don't recall their names, but they're all people of positions, if you will, if I can use that term. And I'll let them talk to you. And this might be a 2-part video here. But yeah, let's do this.
It can provide to the system? What innovation do they bring? How do they deal with existing regulation? And how do you see this playing out in the future? You're on mute, sorry.
Okay, that's really not thought was clear. I think the big shift is in moving from a, am I muted still? Can you hear me okay? Yeah. I think the big shift is moving from a, a messaging based batch constrained, high value, relatively low volume model that's quite varied among the countries in Europe and also countries worldwide, to one where value is exchanged and held 24/7 immediately without recourse and with legal finality. And that really shifts the kind of paradigm of how people pay each other, how companies pay, how companies receive funding, and also the kind of innovation that can be created in the digital world, because the underlying exchange of value is much more immediate and also much more reliable and 24/7 available. I think that kind of shift creates a wonderful foundation upon which some really exciting innovations can be brought to life for the industry. So, looking at the kind of cross-border world, there are many jurisdictions doing very similar things to the European Union, and I think the work we're doing in Europe, clearly the scale is very, very impressive. Very similar to moves in the US with the OCC, for example, but also many countries in the emerging markets are very quickly thinking through and developing frameworks for CBDCs or stable coins to be used domestically. And that creates kind of a sea change in how you can think about moving value between countries. In the old model, the only way to move value was to message between a bank in one country, a bank in another country. The Romans used a method that we use today. We just automate it. It's computerized, but it's a really old method. So the opportunity here is to switch from the messaging method to a completely connected ledger synchronization between a balance, let's say the UK, and a balance in the Eurozone. So at Ripple, what we are doing is focusing on building out that DLT international network. And we do this by two things. One, we interconnect with the ledgers of banks and payment companies in national clearing networks. And in that context, as the European Union gets behind and supports the growth of CBDCs and domestic digital assets, then the ledgers that Ripple is connecting to, let's say, for example, from a Canadian repository to, let's say, a French repository, if both of those accounts or wallets or run are supported by digital assets, then the value exchange can be immediate, atomic, and have blockchain integrity, even though both ends of the payment exist in very different blockchain environments, one in my example in Canada, one in the European Union. So we're working on the interconnection. We call the model interledger, interconnecting between digital asset blockchains. Now that, if you like, addresses the need for cross-border payments to flow with the same velocity and the same scale that domestic payments can flow. So you kind of solve half the problem. The second half of the problem is all around liquidity. And the kind of elephant in the room is today the world locks up around, I think it's around 10 to 15, whatever, $1 trillion at any one time in balances and nostros in different parts of the world to fund payments which are sent in great big chunks at end of day or end of week. The opportunity here with CBDCs running domestically and with a bridge asset, another cryptocurrency model, a bridge asset to connect those CBDCs together, the opportunity is to deliver liquidity on point, in the moment, in microseconds, from one part of the world to another. And the model that we focus on is using XRP, which is a very high velocity and very high volume digital asset. It's a free floating asset, unlike a CBDC or stablecoin. Use it as a bridge currency between these CBDCs. So you imagine a world in future where there are, let's say, 180 individual CBDCs per jurisdiction in the world. Making markets between those CBDCs is quite challenging unless you have a common single point, the bridge currency, which then enables connections to be made more efficiently and markets to be made between these individual currencies. So you put that together with both a bridge currency between those CBDCs and the overriding ledger connection between the blockchains that run those CBDCs, and you are kind of redefining how value is moved cross-border. It's a complete departure from the messaging model that we've automated but haven't changed. And it moves into an immediate liquidity, a non-trap cash, a wallet-to-wallet, a micro-payment model. That's also really important for extending reach. European Union being a very strong, developed economic bloc, it's in a great position to then help leverage and grow inclusion around the wider region across Eurasia, Sub-Saharan Africa, Middle East, South Asia, Southeast Asia. And by leveraging what you're doing in the European Union and with the directive that you've currently kind of propagated, leveraging that to benefit those who need very high volume, very immediate, low value micropayments with very limited liquidity tie-up. It's a massive opportunity I think we can grasp by tackling that cross-border problem.
Did you see how his face lit up when he could talk freely about these things there? Like, Marcus Treacher knows his stuff. And he's talking about the Nostro Vostros all tied up there, that trapped liquidity. For you guys who follow XRP, what do you think we're waiting for? We are waiting for that liquidity to not be trapped within these banks anymore and just come rushing out at that point. That's what we're waiting for. That's where that liquidity is coming from, because it's tied up, trapped liquidity. So once we get these digital ledgers going and bridge currencies to operate from fiat to digital, we can get those CBDCs going at this point. That's what we're looking for. A lot of people are afraid of CBDCs, but once you have those national CBDCs like Canada, ECB, US, Sweden, whatever, once you get those out there, that trapped liquidity will not be trapped anymore. There are CBDCs already out there, but those are individual corporates. I showed you guys that already. That's the UMU, Unicoin there, Universal Monetary Unit. That's not a scam. That has been issued with the blessing of the IMF through Daryl Hubbard from the DCMA, Digital Currency Monetary Authority. That's not a scam. That's an international CBDC, not a national CBDC like the USA one or the Canadian one or the Palau. If they had one, they're not going to have one. They're using the USDC, I want to say it is. Actually, no, I'm lying. They are using, well, I guess USDC out there, but in collaboration with Ripple. Maybe it's not USDC. I don't recall at the moment here. But I know they're working with Ripple on that project out there. But this here is very, very, very interesting to hear how some of these people talk. It's just mind-blowing and astounding to be able to bear witness to some of this stuff. Because, this is the type of research I do. And I'm grateful to be able to show you guys how deep I go with my digging. And when I say something, I'm not just making it up. I'm telling you guys through the art of dissemination. I've heard it before, so I spew it out from what I've heard from what these individuals say. I don't I don't listen to what they do, I do what they do, okay? So with that being said, I'm going to show you guys this, not this whole video, it's a 40-minute video. That's why I was saying I might break this up into 2 parts. So if it, yeah, I'll just play it and then I'll figure that out as we go, okay? I'm going to pause this or mute my volume here.
Next up, Erlang Solutions and ManaSearch present What's Next for Blockchain in Financial Services, a panel moderated by Mimi Nguyen, R&D lead at ManaSearch.
Thank you for joining us today at our very special live event, What's Next for Blockchain in Financial Services. I'm Mimi Nguyen from ManaSearch, co-host of the FinTech Times Searching for Mana podcast and a PhD candidate at Imperial College London Faculty of Engineering. We're pleased to host this star-studded panel session as a part of the FinTech Week 2021, broadcasted live from Barclays Rise and supported by Erlang Solutions, experts in building scalable, highly resilient systems. In this event that I will be moderating, we will look into the innovation and the real-life use cases of the underlying blockchain technology outside cryptocurrencies, which will be covered in other session of this conference. So sorry for disappointing some people, but we will be not speaking about Dogecoins and Jack Dorsey tweets or any memes today. We have with us Chris Skinner, Dzień dobry, recognized thought leader and the author of The Financer. Markus Richter, member of the boards of directors at Clearbank, previously Ripple. Simon Taylor, co-founder and blockchain practice lead at 11FS. And last but not least, Hayden Jones, PwC director and senior blockchain market specialist. It's a pleasure to have you all with us today. Quick recap of the history. Blockchain 1.0 was related to virtual currencies, broadly speaking blockchain 2.0, with smart contracts, smart property, decentralized application, dApps, DAOs, DAGs. And in the book, Blockchain Blueprint for a New Economy, Blockchain 3.0 is described as the application of blockchain in areas other than cryptocurrencies, such as government, science, arts, and culture. Blockchain 3.0 aims to popularize the technology and focuses on the regulation and the governance of its decentralization in society. So to kick off the dialogue of today's session, I have a first question for Simon. Could you tell us if today's version of blockchain is mature enough and ready to be applied off the shelf to our use cases, and especially in fintech?
I love the word off the shelf. Because off the shelf for who and to achieve what?
For the banking system and for the fintech.
For the banking system or the fintech? Because for the fintech company, if I wanted to acquire customers, then maybe adding Bitcoin or crypto trading is really good marketing. So Revolut, Square, Robinhood already offer those services today, and that's really powerful and live and in production. So we could argue that yes, it's ready and it's off the shelf. But if you wanted to achieve something different, we see that there's a neobank in the US called Current. They have about 2.5 million customers. They would be sort of really well liked by their users, but they're seen primarily as a neobank, not a crypto wallet, not a trading app like Robinhood, and they offer 4% savings yield. And the reason they're able to do that is because they're using DeFi behind the scenes. They're using the money markets that exist behind the scenes in crypto to be able to deliver that. So again, that's live, it's in production, it's available to 2.5 million customers of that service. So yes, there's that. And then there's a whole other world where the guys at IBM, the guys at EY, the guys at PwC, and many, many others have been involved in projects where you are managing global supply chain finance and much, much more. So I think the short answer is yes, there are things ready to go into production without question. But what I would ask is, who are you and what do you want to achieve? Because there are some things that you have to choose different technologies for. So for example, if I was trying to solve for building a scalable exchange, or if I was trying to rebuild Visa, Would I necessarily use Bitcoin or Ethereum or even something of those lines? Maybe not. But would I use a Solana? Would I use a Polygon or a Matic or even Corda or something from IBM? Yes, I might. So actually, you really have to go down a level and say, is it ready? What is it? It is actually many things. So who are you and what do you want to achieve? Therefore, you might be able to choose the right solution for your use case.
Thank you. So I wanted to ask about the operational efficiency. So not the marketing kind of Revolut campaigns. So a survey from Accenture across the world's largest 8 banks is demonstrating that blockchain technology can cut costs and bring savings of more than 30% across the middle and back office, bringing the initial savings of $8 billion. I wanted to ask Marcus on this, how and where can the savings be achieved?
I think it's important to look at the big picture for blockchain, and the genie is out of the bottle. Blockchain's in the market and is being applied to today's world. That's having a fairly big impact. And my view is there'll be a moderate to large impact applying blockchain technology that's out and available off shelf to improve some of the processing that financial companies have today. But the big value is looking ahead to the point in time where the technology becomes mature enough to rethink and redefine how money is owned, moved, and utilized. And that will be seismic. And in that future, which is not too far ahead, you'll be looking at what it means to be a bank, an insurance company, an accountancy firm, a consultancy, a government department. That will change. And that's really where the impact of blockchain will come into the forefront.
You mentioned money moving. I wanted to ask about the cross-border payments. How can we move it to become real-time, soft real-time, maybe? Hayden, how will this affect the banking sector?
Well, I think one of the most important parts to this is governance. Okay, we need a far more effective way of actually governing blockchain, and that flows from the regulator. Okay. Yeah. For me, the thing that's always sort of stood out is the ability to combine, I think Marcus has touched on this, the ability to combine payments, ledgers, store of value, and the conditional nature of money. Yeah. Okay. Now, if we look at those 4 separate concepts, each of them have got distinct regulatory frameworks associated with them. So you've got the Payment Service Regulator, you've got the Solicitors Regulation Authority, you've got the central banks, you've got the Prudential Regulation Authority. They all have separate regulatory frameworks, right? Yeah. Now, if we take something as clever as blockchain, we're actually bringing those 4 things together, okay? And that's a very potent mix because you've got 4 very, very important concepts that have been around for hundreds, in some cases thousands of years, right? What you basically end up doing is creating some kind of super regulator. Okay. Now, a regulator for any one of those is tough. A super regulator that understands that sort of 4-dimensional nature of what you're dealing with there is tough. It's a big ask. But if we really want to sort of crack this, it's absolutely essential that we move forward. And if you look at the invention of radio telecommunications, the way they regulate radio telecommunications is through the International Telecommunications Union. Right, because they realised how potent the technology was, and it took that sort of global force, that global vision, to allow us to bring the different nations together to actually come up with a concept that allows us to control the risks associated with this technology.
Yeah. That leads me to when you said regulations to the smart contracts. So, for example, we're speaking about the executable code that can.
I think there's 3 dimensions to answer the question. One is that it's obvious that if software eats the world, we can automate everything, we can get rid of human jobs, everything will work smoothly. However, the second dimension is that's not reality. I mean, that's not how the world works, because you end up with a lot of people who have different interests and different partisan views that want to have a finger in the pie. And so the reason why blockchain has so far been completely useless is because no one can agree how to apply it. You know, there's lots of areas where it could be applied, and it would have amazing benefits like in clearing a settlement or digital identity. But no one can agree how that should be structured and how it will work. And because of that, particularly across borders, it's still very immature. Eventually, it will become mature, and it probably will fulfill some of the dreams that we have for what it can do. But I think the third thing really comes down to what are we creating as the next version of the world? And I don't think anybody has actually understood that right yet. And for me, it hit home, I was saying before we came on stage, as I was driving to see my mum, in that next to the motorway is warehouse after warehouse after warehouse. And yet if I go down the high street, there's closed shop after closed shop after closed shop. So we are substituting an old reality with a new reality, and blockchain and digital identity and all the things that distributed ledger technology can do is part of that. But none of us yet know what that means, how it will work, how it will succeed, what the right models are, who's going to be the key players. And if we did know that, then we'd be very rich people.
Yes, when you mentioned about like we don't know how
Perfect. I hope you guys heard that we are creating a new world. As he was driving to see his mum, he went by warehouse after warehouse after warehouse. And as he went to the main street there, he saw closed shop after closed shop after closed shop. And now they're creating a new world. So we know who's creating this new world that we are going to be operating within. So if you can figure out what they're doing, it doesn't have to be 100%, but get it as close as possible. That's where you have individuals such as myself, individuals such as Cyprus Domenicor from CyperX. You have individuals such as The Working Money. You have individuals such as, who else is out there? There's many good people out there. You have TED Talk Money from Lift Capital. You have ISO 20022 Let's Go on Twitter. A lot of people, Ghost on Twitter, Smoke Dog, sorry, are putting out good information, solid information that can see and understand Veil, XRP Veil as well, and understand what these individuals are building. And as long as we can put the puzzle pieces together, whether they're fragmented for each and every one of us, as long as we can come together and begin to pull that whole puzzle together as close as we can play within their realm. You heard him say he would like the 3D, which is without human intervention at all. But that's not a reality, he said. We're operating in a 2D world where there's going to be multiple hands in the pot. They want this, they want that, they don't want this, they don't want that. And then there's us. There's our say, if we actually have a say or not. Is there regardless. But then there's us. We all have our own dynamics that we're adding into this pot. So that being said, as long as you can follow true researchers and pick up the gems they're putting down to put this puzzle piece together with regards to blockchain, with regards to blockchain 3.0, with crypto 2.0, XRP is considered crypto 2.0. You have smart contracts at this point. You have NFTs coming in. You have automated market makers coming in. There's a lot taking place. And as individuals, we can only see so much. So I tend to focus on stable coins and regulations because I come from a highly regulated background. I'm in the aviation industry and I look after the technical records, as I said, multiple times. And what that means is as aircrafts undergo maintenance, I'm the one who tracks the individual components on that aircraft. I look after the airframe of the aircraft. I look after the engines, the two engines, and if it's a turbo, and if it's a prop, I'll look after the props and track all those movements for times, for calendar dates, and same for pure turbo engine itself for jets, because we have 2 jets with 2 in the background as parts jets. Anytime maintenance gets done, whether it's from a pilot that's doing a simple check of the oil in there, I need to know about that, and I track that. That has to end up on a work report to state that this simple task was accomplished, because all that is history of that aircraft. So that being said, I know and understand regulations to the extent that I can understand them. So I will do my best and continue to work hard to get this information out there to you guys, which is why I follow panels such as individuals like this, because you don't hear this too often on many other pages that have to talk about crypto. So it's now been about 49 minutes here. I don't want to take up too much of your guys' time today, so I will continue with this video tomorrow. Until then, I'll see you guys in the next one. Nothing but love.
Making major moves. We going all in. Like we got nothing to lose. We making moves. We making major moves. We making moves.